Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating, honestly kind of radical, new perspective on what a family actually is in our modern world. What does that word even mean anymore? We usually just take it for granted, right? We assume it simply means the people we share a roof with or maybe our immediate bloodline. But today, we're going to completely challenge that traditional view. We're going to rethink our relationships, our society, and ultimately, our broader purpose.
So let's start with a big question. How far does the scope of family actually extend? Is it just you and your immediate relatives? For the longest time, traditional families have been strictly organized around bloodlines. But just look around us today. We're seeing an absolute explosion of single-person households, unmarried individuals building entirely independent lives, blended families, and people living in share houses with folks they have zero biological relation to. Our human relationships and community structures are fundamentally changing. So in this rapidly shifting era, where exactly do we draw the line?
Well, to really shift our mindset here, we first need to confront a pretty frustrating truth about the modern traditional home. We all tend to hold on to this deeply romanticized idea of what a household should be, but we need to take a really hard, honest look at what is actually happening behind closed doors today. It's a bit of a bitter reality. Think about the stark contrast between our expectations and reality. The ideal family is supposed to be this amazing hub of deep communication, mutual support, and love. But the real family? For so many people, it has essentially devolved into mere sleeping quarters. You walk in, doors slam shut without even a knock, and genuine conversation is just completely absent. Instead of warm dialogue, people get defensive, they roll their eyes, and they basically just use the home as a convenient place to crash at night. It's lost that core function of connection. And there's this brilliant quote that perfectly captures this paradox. It says, going into the home is like clocking in. Going out into society is like clocking out. Wow. Just think about that for a second. For many people today, returning to a blood-based family unit actually induces more stress than stepping out into the broader world. When you go home, the stress starts the absolute second you walk through the door. It feels like work. But out in society, you actually have people to converse with and relate to. If the home isn't where we find comfort, can we really still call it our primary family?
So that begs the question, if our tiny, isolated homes aren't actually the engine for our personal growth, what on earth is? We love to think we grew up and became successful entirely because of our immediate parents or our own sheer hard work. But the reality is that a small, isolated family unit cannot survive, let alone thrive, without the massive infrastructure of the world around it. Society is the real background of our growth.
Think about the actual sequence of how you grew up. Our individual lives only improved because of the massive, combined energy of the broader human society. First off, everything we consume, everything we know, comes from the energy and sacrifices of humanity worldwide. That collective energy feeds into the growth of the nation, which provides us with safety and infrastructure. And ultimately, because the nation grew, we as individuals received the education we needed to improve our lives. We grew up absorbing the collective nutrition of society. It's all connected.
Because we rely so heavily on this collective for our very survival and growth, it only makes logical sense to expand our boundaries. We have to start recognizing our nation and our society as one giant macro family. If citizens are all interconnected, constantly feeding into each other's well-being, then society itself is our family. We really need to stop clinging to this outdated notion that family only ever means blood relatives. And honestly, we're already seeing this happen organically. With the rapid fragmentation of the traditional home, our societal gatherings and communities are actively becoming our true family units. More and more people are living alone or in shared spaces. We're spending our time in social clubs, online networks, and professional communities. These are the actual places where we seek advice and find our support systems. We need to start seeing these societal structures not just as random groups of strangers, but as the new, expanded family that we actively need to nurture.
But here's the catch. To truly embrace society as our macro family, we can't just change our vocabulary. We need a massive psychological paradigm shift in how we view ourselves. It is absolutely not enough to just say, society is my family, while still acting completely selfishly. A profound shift in character is required to navigate this new era.
We literally have to abandon the habit of being what's known as a soinbe, the small-minded person. A small-minded person only looks at their own feet. They have a narrow focus, obsessing over their tiny biological family, hoarding resources, and constantly stressing over trivial domestic arguments. We have to drop that completely. Instead, we must become the Dain, the broad-minded person. This is someone who recognizes that family encompasses the entire society.
someone holding inclusive values who actually seeks to solve larger, collective problems and lead our macro family. And this ties directly into a really profound concept called Hongik Ingan. It defines the ultimate broad-minded person as someone whose sheer existence inherently benefits the wider human family. Think about it. If you are a fully grown intellectual in today's world, you are meant to be a day-in. You were raised and educated not just to secure a comfortable little house with a white picket fence, but to grow into a leader capable of embracing the entire nation and ultimately all of humanity.
Okay, so you might be wondering, what's the actual actionable learning direction here? How do we stop acting small-minded? It's one thing to understand this on a conceptual level, but how do we actually live day to day as broad-minded people who view society as our family?
The answer is we need to elevate our roles. We need to become what we call social parents. This means treating the broader society with the exact same dedication, love, and care that we once reserved only for our biological children. It's an incredibly powerful framework. Think about the unconditional effort, the studying, and the care a parent puts into raising a child. Now imagine taking that exact same energy and applying it to society. A social parent doesn't just sit around complaining about the news. They actively study the flaws, the conflicts, and the pain points in society, and they work to untangle and solve them for the greater good. So how do we do this? First, you literally have to mentally step out of your small home and stop obsessing over those petty domestic squabbles. Second, study the societal issues around you. Use your education to understand why things are broken in the first place. Third, actively work to correct those wrongdoings. And finally, and maybe most importantly, look at every single citizen you interact with, not as a random stranger, but as a true member of your extended family. When we do this, we stop complaining and start taking real responsibility.
It really all boils down to this core truth. You were given knowledge and resources not just to enrich your own tiny household, but to contribute to the co-prosperity of humanity. We are meant to be broad-minded leaders. If we fall back into those small-minded habits, we are only going to find frustration and stagnation. The only way to unlock true wisdom and to really open our eyes to how the world works is to embrace this massive, inclusive identity.
So I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought as you step out your front door today. The next time you feel confined or stressed or frustrated by your traditional home, remember that your true family is actually waiting for you outside. You have the immense potential to be a social parent, a broad-minded leader who brings warmth, understanding, and real solutions to a society that desperately needs it. The choice of just how big your family is, well, that's entirely up to you.